Hey guys, it's me, Gary Lee Stanley, your sales guy. How are you doing today? Today we're going to talk about our favorite subject, which is sales. All right, we have a cool topic for ourselves today, so let's go ahead and dive right on into it. What is our cool topic for today? Our cool topic for today is how I passed my 440 test. Yes, I passed it. Okay. How did I pass my 440 test to be able to sell insurance and help my boss be able to be a producer? That's what I want to do, is produce, help people to be able to get different lines of insurance. And I'm very fortunate that I'm working with now Farmers Insurance with a George Ross Boyd Jr. He is the agency owner right here in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida at 822 A1A North. We have office number 304 in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida 32082. The office number is 904-686-7612, and that would help me if you could go ahead. And this is my new boss right here. Tell him I said hey. Tell him everybody Gary Lee says hi. Well, what we're going to talk about right now is how I passed my test, and I'm going to be quite honest with you guys. It was a little bit more than I thought, and the reason why is because I put a lot of expectations on myself. You know, I've got a lot of licenses and certifications, and here recently, I've decided that I'm going to help people get insurance in all facets. So on their home, on their auto, I'm also taking care of business insurance and life insurance and all of the above. So what I needed to do was get a 440 license that could give me the capability to work under a person who has a 220 license, who is my broker, who's my manager. And I also have the capability to be able to move into the next position by taking that 220 course. Now, I'm going to mention this to you also. If you go to work for a lot of different companies, you need to make sure that if you're going to sell life insurance, that you at least get your 215 license on your own, or if you're lucky, your company will work with you. That life insurance gives you the capability to sell life insurance. That's whole life, and that's term life, and that's also helping people with death benefits, and that's also going to help people with term insurance. And you also have the capability by having the 215 to help people with annuities and things of this nature. There's a lot of different things, but make sure you get your 215. Don't get your 214 license. That's what I got. But unless you're just going to sell life insurance, but you never know. Go ahead and get as much license as you possibly can. Well, let me get back on track. You know, my name is Gary Lee Stanley, and our simple job today is to have a conversation about, you know, what I went through and how it felt to take the course. Now, I was real lucky. Mr. Ross, he took good care of me. You know, I was fortunate. They paid me while I was here to be able to take my course. And with that in mind, it gave me a little bit of extra money, peace of mind. And a lot of companies will work with you, and they will give you the capability to take this test. So you want to take it serious, but not so serious that it makes you go crazy. See, for myself, I took lots and lots of notes. And how I passed the test basically is I really, I just read everything. If you read, because I took the online course under, it was centrallinesinsuranceSchool.com, and it was pretty good. I mean, they gave you the basics, they gave you the fundamentals, and things we talked about were very important that were actually on the test. Now, you had to take actual small modules. You had 25 modules, you had 25 tests, and they were small little broke down tests, and you had modules within inside of modules, so that way you can learn about the particular subjects. And subjects that we worked on were, for instance, it's like, you know, split limits, like 10, 20, 10. I mean, that's what we have here in Florida. And if you don't know anything about, cars, or if you don't know anything about auto, if you don't know anything about insurance, that is how they determine how much people are going to get paid if you get in a car accident. So you really need to know your split limits. First off, we have bodily injury liability. We talked about, the different types of splits. The more coverage that the customer has, believe it or not, is really beneficial. And the reason why is because if they get hurt and they have a limited amount of insurance, they're not going to be able to be protected in a way that they could be sued. And a lot of times, if some people don't even have insurance, so you need to make sure that your customers, when you're going to be talking to people, and we're going to be talking to people, we don't want them to just get the minimum. Now, if that's all they can afford and so forth, that's great. But in reality, you're doing your customer a disservice by not offering the most that they can get for their money. It's really important because who would want to be in an accident and not have enough insurance? It just makes sense if you get my drift. We talked about property damage. We talked about, bail bonds, release of attachment, judgments. We talked about earnings. We talked about financial responsibilities. You have financial responsibilities. If you buy insurance and you're not covered enough, what happens is that they can go after your home. Now, they do have this thing called an umbrella insurance, especially for people who have quite a bit of money, or anybody who wants to make sure that they've got this gap insurance to cover just in case they get sued. And believe me, if your policy that you sell at a home, you got $100,000 and they have a judgment against you for $200,000, where are you going to get the money? Hopefully you got an umbrella policy. So that's just one of the things that we looked at. We also looked at liability. Who's liable, for the situation? Were you in the accident? Did you cause the accident? Do you have personal injury protection? Do you have insurance that's going to cover you in case the other customer doesn't have any insurance? Well, these are things that we studied on. We learned about the different techniques and having, this conversation. Now, a lot of times we also talked about, let's just say, for instance, we talked about uninsured motorists. Remember, I was telling you about those people who don't got no insurance? You definitely want to pay attention to that. Now, what I did was I also went to the back of the course. At the very back of it, it gave us all the words, and it's a glossary. And what I did was I went through the glossary and I looked up terms that I still didn't understand. So when I went to take the test, it was more easier for me to pass the test. Now, the test ain't super hard, guys. I wrote a lot of notes. That's how I am the type of person to be able to comprehend. You don't want to just drill all this in one day, and you possibly can pass, but are you learning anything? The key to success is when we're trying to be in a position for a future opportunity is we want to comprehend what we're learning. And if you have basic, just enough information to help you pass the test, well, that's good. But see, I'm one of these kind of people that I need to have a little bit of knowledge, and I need to be able to wrap my mind around it and how it works. And so you may be the same type of person. We also talked about, workers' compensation. We talked about, lost wages. We talked about pain and suffering. And we also talked about what goes into that. And believe me, guys, people, you see, you're the doorkeeper. You're probably one of the most important people, and you don't even know it. People with a 440 license, we are the customer service agents. We are the backbone of the industry. We make a lot of the phone calls to call on our customers or leads and things that we get, and customers who've already had services. So it makes sense that because we are so important that we know what we're doing. And I'm real lucky. Like I said, Mr. Boyd's got me taking this training on farmers insurance and all this stuff. Also, he's got these extra curricular activities. He's let me learn about how to write scripts and things of this nature. Now, see, here's the thing. When you take a lot of these tests, they don't talk about, how to sell. They don't talk about the basic fundamentals of having a selling conversation. But you need to learn the fundamentals and the basics so that way you know what you're talking about. And in some other things that we talked about, let's just take a look here. We talked about stacked insurance. How you can have, more insurance if you've got 3 or 4 cars, where if they were in different accidents, you can get it unstacked, where if something goes wrong, oh crap, that's just for that car. But what if you had it stacked and you were able to get the same coverage, on all your vehicles? Like if you got a kid, man, you want to make sure you've got as much insurance as you possibly can just in case. We also talked about the different things in the course, and I'm just going over a few things here. Collision versus a collision versus other than collision. We talked about what are perils. Perils are things like fire, theft, explosions, wind. We're talking about vandalism. We talked about exclusions and things that aren't covered, under most people's policy. And it's a really good platform. It's a really good opportunity to take the 440 course, because what it does is it gives you a well-rounded knowledge of the basics and the concepts. It kind of like piques your interest. So when you get with a good company like I'm with, the Boyd company here at the beach, okay, in Sawgrass. And these people want to make sure that I only know just this material, because the 440 gets you in the door. Remember, you got a lot more learning to do. You've got a lot of things that you need to work on. You need to be able to have a conversation over the phone. You need to be able to pick up that heavy phone, especially when you're calling on customers. And also, you have to have this personality. Plus, you want to feel good about what you're doing. You're helping people. You're also making a decent living, and you also have an opportunity to make even more once you get that 220 and you become a broker, where you're able to sell a lot more and be able to get more residuals and more benefits. Now, other things that we looked at off personal property. We looked at what happened, extended your coverages. We looked at waivers, aircraft. We talked about, riots. It's a lot of stuff in this. It's really pretty interesting, and it goes into more detail. And we also talked about water. We talked about flood. We talked about who's in charge in case, you have a flood, or there are different companies that you can work with, because we get to sell it all. And when you work as a customer service agent, you're not actually the salesperson, but what you are is you're able to talk to customers, you're able to give them information, and you're able to, through your company, be able to write them up for policies. Now, if you're lucky, you'll start making a little bit of money. They have what they call residuals and benefits, where you get extra money every year when they keep signing up. You want to get as much money out of it as you possibly can. And like I said, I was very fortunate. And I got in my own office here. A lot of times they want you in a small area, so that way you can start picking up the phone and start talking to people. You may get lucky, and I got real lucky. I got really lucky with this particular company, and I'm very grateful. Again, I'm working with Farmers Insurance, but I'm working actually for George Ross Boyd Jr. right here off of A1A in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. And I'm going to tell you what, he knocks it out of the park. And he's got me learning. And I've been in sales a long time, guys. So it's like, I have my 214. Remember I said you need to get your 215, and I'll have them probably get that also, just because. And I'm just, like I said, I've been in sales. I got my real estate license. I sell real estate. I sell regular life insurance. But now I've got the capability, because I have a 440, to work for a broker, so I can sell all types of insurance. I mean, we got business insurance. I'm talking, it's just amazing. And all this stuff that we're looking at, like I said, you're going to be able to get quite a bit of information. You're going to study. And you're going to think, oh, am I going to pass? Well, it's not one of these where you have to get a state license, which is nice, okay? What I had to do is I got mine on Thursday the 13th, okay? I got my real estate license on Friday the 13th. So 13 is a good lucky number for me. But what's going to happen is you're going to sit there, you're going to take the test, you're going to say, man, that wasn't that bad at all. It was pretty good. But you do have to pay attention. You do have to focus, and you do want to learn something. Don't just rush through this information, whether you pass it or not. They give you at least 2 or 3 times a couple of different trainings, and I'm real fortunate to just say, I like what I do. I'm a salesperson, and now I'm gotten to the next level. The next thing you got to do is get your fingerprints taken. They're going to do a background check, the companies that you're going to work with, because they want to make sure that you're above board. And believe me, they will probe on you to make sure that you are of a good nature. Because you're dealing with people's finances. financial things. You're dealing with people's personal things. And remember, we are the customer service agents, guys. We're the 440 agents. We're the people who get the chance to talk to everybody. I wear a lot of different caps, but right now I've got that 440. That gives me the capability to sell even more types of insurance. That gives me the capability to learn more and have more of a future. So in this regard, guys, my name is Gary Lee Stanley. Give me a thumbs up and please share my videos. And I hope you like this because I'm a real salesperson. I tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the warts and all. We just had a simple conversation today. Hey, I passed my test on my 440 the first time, and I'm just real proud. I wanted to share that with you. So go out there and sell something. But if you ain't asking for the order, you ain't selling. And today we just had a simple conversation about how and what's on the 440 test and what's the next step. The next step is to start working, baby. All right. Selling insurance, 440.